That's a little weird.
What does the term routine mean?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell from records, huh?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell from records. I think probably what it means is that none of the numbers stood out as odd. They were all numbers that would have normally been contacted either way from his cell phone.
Okay.
That would be how I would assume that meant. How I would assume that meant?
What meant?
What I assume that meant, yeah. And then there are a lot of people out there saying that because this was a county-owned cell phone, the phone records should be matter of public record, so why don't we see those? It's not such a big deal for me. There was only one call. That's a little suspicious, I guess. Just a tiny bit.
They withhold a lot of information, though, in cases
Often
like
they
this.
do, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to point a finger about that.
So Joe's got some stuff about the murder.
Not necessarily. But I just, the search strings, and again, as I said earlier, they set up my BS detector in a large way. Especially the one about water and electronics. And it occurs to me they didn't have to necessarily be entered by Ray. I mean, because the guy, assuming he was abducted and murdered, which I think he probably was.
I would agree with this.
And
I'm actually on board with that.
Yeah, and these people would have his driver's license with his address on it, and they would have his house keys, and maybe there was something they wanted. I'm not even sure that he would have had his laptop with him in that car.
Well, that's actually a big point of contention.
It is. And so they might have actually driven to his home and, made sure that Patty wasn't home, gone inside, found the laptop, which maybe they wanted for one reason or another because maybe of the information that was on it. And then, just for good measure, they entered a few search strings as kind of a red herring, and then, went on their way. It may well be that Ray did not even do any of that searching from his computer.
That's true, although I guess, and maybe this is misplaced faith, but I would assume that whoever found those search terms would have been a computer expert and would have said, hey, that's weird. These search terms were entered at 9 p.m.
When Patty was at the gym or something.
Don't you think that would be something that they would have... And I agree. I totally agree with you that, the fact that nobody ever says, this is when the search terms were made. I agree. That's weird.
And they might not have actually considered it important to mark the exact date and time that the searches were made. That the searches themselves were really more important.
I don't know that when you're doing that kind of forensic analysis, what you consider important comes into play. I think there's process.
Yeah.
You go by the numbers. This, and this, and this are what I log in about every detail.
Yeah.
Not, I don't think that's important. I'm not going to write it down.
Well,
I don't think that's the way it works.
I don't really know that they had an actual forensic computer expert do this. They might have just been a detective who did it.
It's true.
That's true.
Yeah, and so you just
I can't argue with that.
There has been a certain amount of criticism of the investigation.
Yeah, although I don't think... I think they did everything they probably could have.
They probably did. And there's nothing wrong with having a detective go looking for search strings. Maybe at that time it was couldn't really be understood. They were just looking to see what he was up to on his computer.
Yeah.
They didn't really care about the precise time and date that he did it on.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why the search string, what does water do to a laptop, kind of sets off bells for me.
Well, but he may wonder, okay, does that just fry the system, or does that actually erase the hard drive? Is what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah.
Could have been.
I personally, I think that he's in a shallow grave somewhere, and I think that it just has something to do with a prior case
Probably.
and a crime of opportunity.
Yeah,
Somebody
probably.
went, that a-hole right there put me away for 7 years.
Yeah.
I'm getting my revenge.
Right, exactly. And so this is why he was on Route 192, which you've looked at on Google Maps, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a nice long drive through the woods, lots of side roads, lots of places to pull off, go down a side road, pull the shovel out of the back of your red Cooper Mini, and dig a hole and bury your hard drive. No need to throw it in the river right next to where you parked your car.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes absolutely no sense that he did that.
Yeah.
And it makes every amount of sense to me that whoever did the deed would plant that evidence there. And so I don't consider it totally beyond the realm of possibility they planted those search strings too.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my 2 bits.
Okay, so next theory is suicide. I don't give this one a lot of credence.
Most people don't.
No, the one thing that I will admit kind of lends credence to the theory is the fact that he was unusually tired and kind of grumpy and depressed. I think he was probably depressed.
Yeah, there was you read the same thing, I know, by one of his coworkers who worked with him for 20 years. He said he was in a strange mood that week.
Yeah, he had been in a strange mood. His longtime girlfriend, Patty, said that he was so tired that she told him that if he continued to be that tired that he needed to go to the doctor. He just seemed generally lethargic and kind of to be displaying the symptoms of somebody who would be depressed. But I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Because, well, he seen the effect of his brother's suicide on everybody around him.
That's a big deterrent.
Yeah, and so you see that, it's like, do I want to be this big of a flaming jerk to the people around me? I mean,
probably not.
Yeah, probably not. He didn't strike me as that kind of guy.
And then also to do it like almost exactly like your brother did, that to me is really like the big one, is like, even if you were going to kill yourself and your brother had killed himself before, why would you make it look so similar to his suicide?
Although if you were, wanting to murder him on the other hand, and you were aware of the details of his brother's suicide,
you might just mirror that.
You might just do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's an issue with the suicide theory.
Okay, what's that?
The water level.
That's true. It was pretty low, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's conflicting.
Let's talk about I'm going to pose a new theory, and then we can talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. No. I'll back off on that.
A theory that I never really see, which is fair because I think there are a lot of issues with it. But also, I guess it's possible that he was trying to dispose of the computer, albeit in a dumb way, right? By throwing it over a bridge.
Is this the whoops theory?
It is the whoops theory.
I haven't actually looked at it too closely at that bridge. Are there sidewalks on that bridge?
There are. Yeah. There are sidewalks and a low railing across the bridge. And it's not that tall of a bridge or anything like that. But, I guess it is possible that he was trying to dispose of his computer in a dumb way again and just fell in. Which, again, I don't think is a very good theory, but it's possible, and I don't see people talking about that as a thing. People say, well, he would have intentionally jumped, but nobody says, what if he just accidentally fell?
Well, it seems kind of unlikely.
It seems unlikely.
It's right. Well, that's the same thing. We talked about this when we were talking about the luchador story.
Yeah, exactly. It's super unlikely. And actually, there are some comparisons with the luchador story in that half the reporting that you'll hear says that the river at that time was like really low, like below waist level low, and the bridge is pretty low. It's not really high.
I'm finding that April 15th.
Okay.
I mean around here on April 15th the rivers are high.
Yeah, and so according to the nephew on Dateline, which I guess we are going to say is a pretty credible source.
I guess you would know. Yeah.
The water was
Dateline, not the nephew.
Unseasonably high. Due to rain and ice melts. But again, on the other hand...
It's April in Pennsylvania. It's cold!
It's cold, and apparently the Susquehanna River is full of islands and fast rapids, places where brush pile up fast, get packed in, that could easily hide a body. There's also a dam pretty far down.
Oh, this is you're pulling this quote from the police chief. Yeah. I remember this. Yeah, because he really cringed when he made the phrase "and disintegrate a body."
Yeah, but I mean, also there's a dam that apparently a body could get kind of wedged up against. Although, again, on the other hand, a different police officer interviewed in the same news story says that the water was crystal clear and you could literally see to the bottom, and it's pretty much just a flat rock with some like silt, but not a very thick layer of silty mud stuff on top of it. So I get, it's just kind of like all of these stories are conflicting, and there's no way for me to know definitively what the river looked like on that day. So I don't think he probably could have died falling off the bridge, to be honest. I don't think that happened. Suicide or otherwise, I don't think that he died by falling in the river.
Yeah, well, suicide too, probably going back to suicide, I should say that if he had committed suicide, I don't think they would have found the laptop there.
Exactly. Yeah, and in addition to that, maybe he was depressed, and certainly mental illness and depression and things like that take all sorts of different forms, but at least on paper, he had a pretty good life. He was about to retire.
Yeah,
he had a lot of money.
Good.
He was planning on traveling. He had a love.
Big old fat pension coming to him.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going for him, and frankly, this is kind of going into the next theory. But if he was so inclined to escape his life in one way or another, it would have been pretty easy for him to do so.
Oh, this is the Dorothy Arnold theory?
The Dorothy Arnold
Yeah,
theory.
he ran off destroying the circus.
Yeah. So the next theory is that he ran away for a new life, which is pretty unlikely.
Yeah, I called the circus, by the way.
Did you?
They haven't
said no.
seen him. They said no.
God, of course they did.
He's not here.
They would say that, though. Yeah.
Wait, did you talk to the bearded lady or the Wolfman? Because the Wolfman's a liar.
Oh, no. I talked to the Siamese twins.
Oh, yeah, those
okay.
two.
Yeah.
They check their information against each other all the time. So
yeah. Okay. Well, so I'm gonna present this in a series of, but then.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Ran away to start a new life is really unlikely, but then there's the dark-haired smoking woman.
Everybody likes a dark-haired smoking woman.
Yeah, that's true. So
I like
Ray,
smoking hot women.
Yeah. According to a lot of credible sightings, Ray was seen with a woman with dark hair who was smoking. Now, a lot of reports have them eating lunch together, but it turns out, no, actually, that was a different middle-aged man who drove a Mini Cooper, who was hanging out with a woman who had dark hair.
There's a second red Mini running around town.
Yeah, who looked kind of like Ray, who also was hanging out with a woman who matched vaguely the description of the woman who was seen with Ray. So that adds some interesting, complicated stuff to it. However, later in the day in the antique shop, in the antique mall, there was a dark-haired woman who was smoking who was seen with Ray. Apparently they would kind of walk together and talk and then go into different stores and then come back together and walk and talk. Again, she was smoking, so was she in Ray's car? Hard to tell. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the point. It's unlikely that he ran away to start a new life, but what's up with the fact that his daughter literally just asked him to come back on the first press conference? Dun, dun, dun. She just said, Dad, I love you, come back.
And what date was that?
It was like 2 days later, 3 days later, maybe?
Well,
he had been known to just take off.
Yeah, I was going to say, that makes total sense.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, it's unlikely.
Set this up and then do this every time.
It's unlikely that he left to start a new life, but what's up with his fascination with Mel Wiley? This is true. He had apparently a really deep fascination with this guy named Mel Wiley, who was the Hickney County, Ohio sheriff, who disappeared with a whole lot of like really similar coincidences. Like he parked his car with all of his belongings inside near a body of water with no signs of foul play, and told his girlfriend he was going to do something and then disappeared forever.
Mm-hmm.
Just dudes don't ever tell their girlfriends they're going to go do one thing.
He said he was going to go buy swim trunks. Like, why is that the thing, though?
First thing that pops into your mind.
Yeah, maybe.
How do we know he was that fascinated with Mel Wiley?
Because he talked for
about
years.
It all the time.
It was kind of his go-to.
It was his favorite unsolved mystery.
It was his go-to story. Yeah, it's kind of like you've got a couple of them that you will just, if we are sitting down and having a beer, you will bring up the Island
Joyita.
of Dolls.
Joyita.
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 And we're talking about the Joyita again.
Yeah.
Like it may have been his go-to thing, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal, guys. Since he's out there, living under an assumed name, we got to cover this mystery.
On the Joyita, obviously.
Yeah, we got to cover this mystery. Mel Wiley.
So it's super unlikely that he ran away to start a new life, except for that, as you guys mentioned, he had actually run away before.
Well, not for more than about a day.
When he was married to his second wife, Emma, they had a fight because she bought some gaudy furniture that he was not super stoked on. So he just got in the car and drove to Ohio from Pennsulvania to go see an Indians game.
Yeah.
And apparently that was like one of the first things the cops did.
Was go and look for him.
They called down and said, "Does anybody matching the did Ray Griecar, did he there?" And they said no, and they said, "Ah, crap."
So here's the thing: is that I don't see anything weird about this, because if their relationship was as it has been described, he may have been so hot under the collar that his first instinct was, I need to leave.
Was this Emma you're talking about?
Yes.
Emma? Oh, yeah.
I need to leave.
Yeah.
But this is why it doesn't bother me that he has disappeared before. That was a very different relationship. And while it was reported he did it once, he may have actually done it several times in the past where he was so furious, I gotta go. So that's why his daughter making the plea, she's like, damn it, Dad, you get mad and you go hang out at the Red Lion for 3 days, and you won't talk to us, you jerk, just call me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I take her statement.
I think so, too,
No.
you know, at that point. But as far as the mysterious dark-haired woman, there's a possibility that, you know, maybe he had taken up with somebody new and wanted to run off and live with her. But she could have been something else. She might have been bait.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really sticks out to me.
Yeah, I think she was bait more likely than anything else. She never came forward.
Yeah.
You noticed that? I mean, there could have been an embarrassment factor if she maybe was screwing around with Ray behind everybody's back.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
He was considered a ladies' man.
He was, but here's the thing: is he wasn't married.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it would have been fairly easy for him to just walk away from the relationship he was in. He was about to retire. He wouldn't be working with Patty anymore. And she even says, like, point blank, if he didn't want to be with me anymore, he wouldn't have been with me.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, he would have just ditched her. Yeah,
Yeah, so I do agree it's possible that this woman was bait. I mean, the interactions that people describe between the two of them where they would just suddenly find each other again in the crowd makes it sound like it is a little bit. It's a little bit like she was trying really hard to establish a rapport with him, or him with her, which is fair, right? If he was a ladies' man and he just wanted to flirt with her, that's fine. But one of them or both of them were trying to establish that rapport in that moment. I would think.
And I think what happened is she said, you know, what I do is I'm an antiques dealer. I sell to a lot of these people. If you want to come out and look in my van, I've got some great stuff. And it's going to be so much cheaper because they're going to mark it up 100%, you know, and you'll save so much money. So just come out to my van and have a look-see.
Well, you know, if we're going to pull the card that Devin did, which is what's the theory that hasn't been ever put out there, and I know that this will actually play into the next theory, is what if he was bait for her? Mm-hmm. In other words, he may have been involved in something trying to pull somebody forward and extract information in some other kind of operation that nobody knew about, who's talking, and the whole thing went sideways.
So,
How could it have gone sideways, though?
Sideways. Say it again. Sideways? Sideways, yeah.
Thinking sideways.
We're doing it. The next theory that Steve was just referencing, which his thing fits in nicely with, I guess, is...
I set that up.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like we have a script or something. Shh. Thanks for doing that for me. The next theory...
You have a misspelling in script.
The next theory that Steve's most recent thing matches pretty well into is that it's possible, I guess, that Ray is in witness protection. I think this is a solid 5 out of 7.
Stars?
5 stars?
It's a 5 out of 7. It's perfect.
Okay.
Oh, don't know what that means. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's why this works. Every time somebody requests any documents relating to this case from the FBI or the local law enforcement, it is heavily redacted. And they always say, well, he was the DA, so like we're redacting names and things like that. But apparently, almost all of the documents that you request, either you never hear back about, like Joe not getting calls back, or it's just like super, super redacted. I didn't request any of the documents, so like I don't actually know that for a fact, and Steve's shaking his head like he apparently requested documents and got them from the FBI and they weren't redacted at all. It was like not a black mark on it, but... I've
never seen an FBI document without a black mark on it.
And nor have I.
If Deadspin did several years back, did an FOI, Freedom of Information request for docs on Green and it's redacted in the most generic form of being redacted. Social security numbers, agents' names, like all of the normal things that would be redacted. It's the most boring 70-page PDF I've ever read through.
Yeah, you know, I read it too, and I really would have liked it if somebody had given me a heads up that none of it had anything to do with the investigation into the 2005 disappearance.
Yes, it's 1986 paperwork for everyone.
And eventually I was reading, and then eventually I started spinning through it and stopping and looking at the date. Oh, 86, spin. Oh, it's still 86. And I mean, that's all it was.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm sure you guys saw this. They checked with the CIA. They did a name check with the CIA. And there was a redaction on that.
3 names.
Yeah.
Three
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
the redaction
But-
is
but
in
I mean-
versions of his name that could be used.
Yeah, but the thing about it is as you know, though, the internet went bonkers. When they saw that,
they did. Yes.
They went nuts.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Bonkers is exactly the word.
Cuckoo
Yeah.
for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. So, okay. But it's redacted, Steve. It's super heavily redacted. Just let me get through this thing, okay? Just let me get through this thing.
I know what you're saying, though. Is that? Oh no, actually, go ahead.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think these documents were so heavily redacted because they had to put on the appearance of investigating this assiduously.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's the on the one hand, on the other hand, right? On the one hand, if he were in witness protection, why this public search? Why all this money? Why this extensive thing? But on the other hand, if they didn't look for him, it looked suspicious and like they were hiding something, so they had to put this on.
And that's what you do.
And eye roll.
I wish people
eye
could
roll.
see the face I just made.
But the thing about it is that's and there's an easy way to do that, and that you have like random word generators, and then you print them out, and then you have some administrative assistant just redact about 2/3 of it, and it's going to be unintelligible, but it's perfect, and so people will think because you have massive files on Ray that you've actually been working hard at it, but you've actually been not wasting any resources at all.
Well, it's hard when his computer shows up.
Yeah.
Right? When his computer shows up and they go, crap.
Yeah.
I thought we disposed of that really well in the river.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. The other thing that people say, you'll see this said, is but Ray wouldn't have been eligible for witness protection because he was a public prosecutor, and prosecutors by definition cannot be witnesses, so they are not eligible for witness protection. Which is
that's
just
what I thought
bunk.
too. Is that not true?
No, it is true. Okay, so the way I actually consulted one of our experts on this, and he confirmed exactly what I was thinking. His name is Steven. Thanks, Steven.
You're welcome.
Not you. Shut up. But what he said is exactly what I was thinking, and that is that if within the scope of your position as a public prosecutor, you see something or find something out that pertains to the case, you are not a witness, you're a prosecutor. Mm-hmm. If, however, in your personal life, you witness something like a murder, and then that crazy human being starts to come after you, you are a witness to that crime. You are not a prosecutor, and therefore you are eligible for witness protection.
Your job does not have an influence on your
life as a private citizen.
Correct.
However, typically, witness protection isn't this like Hollywood, we're just going to while you away for the rest of your life and give you a new life and everything's going to be fine. It's, we're going to protect you until litigation's done, and then you're on your own.
Yeah, it's not that Steve Martin movie.
No, it's
Blue...
not.
Do you know the movie I'm talking about?
It's not.
No.
It's not Lilyhammer, right? It's not. I mean, it's not any of those things. You go away
My
for a
Blue
little
Heaven.
while.
Mm-hmm.
You stay safe until that person has been prosecuted and the threat has dissolved, and then they return you to your life.
And besides which, what heinous crimes happened in Lewisburg on the afternoon of the 15th?
Well, it's not necessarily that would have been when he witnessed the crime,
That's when they evaporated
but
him.
that's when
Uh-huh.
they, that was the time. Yeah, exactly when they evaporated him, when the aliens came for him.
Yeah, I see.
you will.
Yeah,
By the way, where are the aliens in our theories?
They're not.
Choopy?
No, I mean, I
you?
just did Phobos. I don't know what you want from me.
I want those two in every story.
Okay, well, my next theory is that it was the alien chupacabras
Yeah. There's an alien chupacabra.
needed a
Scary.
new sitting judge
Yeah.
to judge their cases of intergalactic.
The only thing that could
Justice.
make this more like you're an 8-year-old girl making this up. based
Also,
on
there
what-
were
is
unicorns.
if you started twirling your hair, because the look on your face.
Also, there were unicorns, and they were flying on ships that were sunshine and rainbows.
You have one last thing here. What is this?
I have another theory, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, let's talk about that theory, because that last thing we already talked about.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank goodness. Okay.
I mean, this just seems so obvious to me. It was the IRS. It was April 15th, for God's sake.
Yeah, they were coming after him
And-
for taxes.
Well, every April 15th, they make an example out of one taxpayer.
One taxpayer.
They do. Yeah, they
But
do.
usually they like advertise that though. Usually they're like,
they-
you remember what happened to Ray over here?
Yeah, they parade your head on
Could
a
happen
pike.
to you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the front page of their website all day long.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Don't miss the deadline.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's it. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I will be honest, I still believe that he was murdered.
I think so.
And I still say that he's in a shallow grave in some field somewhere because somebody had a crime of opportunity to get back at him.
Most likely it was that. It could have been a very well-planned thing where they, they actually had a really good reason to do it, or it could have been a crime of opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the problem is like, why did he have his laptop with him? That's totally solved if he was coming from work, right? That's why I'm happy to believe the colleagues who say he played hooky for half a day. He was coming from work. He happened to have it with him. You don't just leave that in your car.
But you do when you forget about it. My wife has done this before. She has come home, and it has been Saturday at 3 o'clock, and all of a sudden she'll look at me and go, oh, hell, my company laptop is in the car.
Right, but I'm just saying that would explain why he would have had it on him when he disappeared. But you're probably right. Actually, probably somebody came to his car and took a bunch of stuff and tossed it because that's why it smelled like smoke.
Yeah,
right?
Probably.
They were smoking while he was
Because what do you do after you knock somebody off? You have a drag.
Yeah.
Well.
So, but that's why I'm inclined to believe that he knocked off for half a day instead of taking the whole day off, because it was unusual for him to have his computer with him. Mm-hmm. There would have been no reason for him to have it with him, even in the car.
There wouldn't have been, but I don't know. I mean, I've heard it both ways too. He took the whole day off, took half the day off, and I don't know.
If he took half the day, it makes sense that he would have his laptop and his computer, and that's resolved.
Yeah. But, I think he got knocked off. I mean, there's just no reason to believe he committed suicide or just disappeared.
Yeah, that he's, like, in witness protection or, like, ran off to have a new life. But
seems unlikely at this point.
He probably is in just a shallow grave.
11 years, I don't think so. Too bad. But,
he and Steve Martin and, what was the other guy in that movie? Martin Short?
I never saw that movie.
My Blue Heaven?
Yeah, I never saw that one.
Oh, it was hilarious. They sent him to a town that was full of ex-cons who were all in witness protection, and they all knew each other, and they were running rackets. It was the funniest movie ever, and of course it was mid-90s garbage, but
there you go.
Steve Martin.
So I guess if you want to see some of the research that we did,
watch My Blue Heaven.
Don't watch My Blue Heaven. That's not research. You can find that information on our website. The website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can also stream and download the episodes off the website.
Yeah, we replaced the player.
We replaced the player, so you should be able to do that. You cannot comment, but that's okay.
Sorry about that.
You can find merch, links to the merch on the website. They're on the right-hand side, along with links to PayPal and Patreon. Those are both donation sites. If you want to do a one-time donation, we recommend PayPal. If you want to do recurring, we recommend Patreon. Just remember, Patreon is reoccurring, so it's like 4 times a month you make that donation, which we love.
Thank you.
Super helpful to us.
You all. Yeah,
we haven't said it in a couple episodes, but thank you so much.
Yeah, really. Thanks.
Yeah, you are probably listening to us on iTunes. If you are and you have not already subscribed, given us a review and a rating, do so, please. If you liked us. Even if you didn't like us, you can still give us a rating. Make it a good one, though.
Yeah, 5 stars.
Yeah, 5 stars. That's the only thing we accept.
Show your dislike of us by giving us 5 stars.
Yeah, it's actually opposite for you guys.
Opposite.
Yeah, it's opposite day for you guys. Yeah. If you're streaming us on whatever, we're on all of them. If you can comment and rate there, do so there as well. That's how you help other people find us. We're on Facebook. We have the group and the page, so you can like us and join the group. Lots of good discussion happening there. Mm-hmm. We're on Twitter. We're Thinking Sideways. I just post a lot of random stuff. Very rarely about the show or anything like that.
Yeah, anymore. The closest that the relation to the show is here's something that sort of once had Devin's face in it, now is just completely filtered.
Yeah, it's really fun. No, but I mean, like, we have people who will tweet and ask questions or say things or suggest or whatever, and that's great. I love that's how I mostly interact with people. You guys are more on the Facebook.
I'm on the Facebook a lot.
I'm more on the Twitter. But we also have a subreddit as well, which I interact with people on. That is just Thinking Sideways Pod. That one is not us.
What's going on the subreddit these days, by the way? I've not been out there in a while.
Lots of discussion. There's an episode discussion for every episode, and lots of links people post of things that they think we might find interesting. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I need to get out there and look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also have an email address if you want to talk to us, if you want to suggest something, if you want to be an expert.
If you come across something, you can send it to us as a story suggestion.
Yeah, or if you just want to chat with us, that's cool too.
Yeah.
That email address is, of course, thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. And I guess all of that having been said, I don't have a joke for the end of this one. I'm just gonna say bye and talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, vamonos.